There is a reef in the abyss that has been waging war for 300 million years, and the evidence is in the coral itself. If you have ever snorkeled over a reef and felt a sense of peace, the slow drift, the vivid colors, the schools of fish moving in silent harmony, you have bought into one of the most successful propaganda campaigns in natural history. The reef is not a garden. It is a battlefield where every centimeter of limestone is built on chemical warfare, biological betrayal, and a struggle so constant that the water itself carries the signatures of ancient massacres. Here is what most people believe. Coral reefs are cooperative ecosystems where everything lives in balance. A bustling city of the sea. But the coral polyp, the tiny animal that builds the reef, does not live in peace with its neighbors. Beneath the tranquil surface, polyps engage in territorial combat using specialized tentacles called mesenterial filaments. They literally extrude their own digestive organs, release them into the water, and allow them to digest the tissue of rival corals alive. This is not a rare occurrence. This is how the reef grows. Every expansion of a coral colony represents a successful act of chemical aggression against a competitor. This is not a story you will find in any aquarium documentary. If you want to keep uncovering the hidden war beneath the waves, the real chemical battles that built the world inside you, subscribe to this channel. And leave a word in the comments. What is the first reef you will never look at the same way again? Tell us which coral you think hides the deepest chemical secret. But that is only the first layer. To understand why the reef is a war zone, you have to look at what lives inside the coral polyp itself. The polyp hosts microscopic algae, called zooxanthellae, colorful photosynthetic partners that provide the polyp with up to 95% of its energy in exchange for shelter. This is the classic symbiosis story you learned in school. Mutual benefit, cooperation. But the relationship is not voluntary. It evolved from a much more violent encounter. In the warm, acidic oceans of the Triassic period, around 250 million years ago, free-living algae were absorbed by early coral polyps during periods of starvation. The polyps had no intention of hosting partners. Their cells engulfed the algae as prey, and digestion simply failed. The algae survived inside the polyp's tissues, replicating faster than the host could break them down. What began as an attempted meal became a hostage situation. The coral could not expel the algae without starving. The algae could not leave without being killed. Over millions of years, the two organisms negotiated a truce that looks like cooperation, but is better understood as a frozen war. Here is where the evidence becomes strange and personal. In the 1980s, marine biologist Dr. Nancy Knowlton, working on reefs in the Caribbean, discovered that different species of coral on the same reef were not competing for sunlight or nutrients in the way scientists expected. They were fighting for something else entirely, the right to hold a chemical signature in their tissues. Knowlton found that some corals secreted compounds that prevented rival larvae from settling within a meter radius. These chemical weapons were not random. They were highly specific, targeting particular species while leaving others untouched. This was not territorial competition as biologists understood it. It was warfare with identification papers. If you have ever felt that your body's own cells operate like a nation under threat, you already understand the reef better than most textbooks teach. The polyps produce chemical defenses that act like border patrol. If a foreign cell enters the colony, the polyps release an immediate burst of reactive oxygen species, the same compounds your immune system uses to kill bacteria. The coral's defenses are so precise that they can distinguish between self and non-self at the cellular level, a capability that emerged long before animals had brains or nervous systems. The reef is not just a war zone. It is a war zone that knows exactly who belongs there. But the most devastating layer is what the reef reveals about your own lineage. In 2014, a team of researchers from the University of Queensland sequenced the genome of the common brain coral, Diploria labyrinthiformis. They found that over 140 genes in the coral's genome had been acquired through horizontal gene transfer, the direct absorption of DNA from bacteria and viruses. The coral had incorporated fragments of its enemy's genetic material into its own hereditary code. This is not rare for reef-building corals. It is the rule. Every coral colony is a genetic patchwork of ancient battles, where defeated microbes left behind segments of their own DNA as posthumous trophies. The reef grows on the skeletons of its ancestors and the ghost code of its attackers. Now consider what this means for you. The mitochondrion inside every cell in your body was once a free-living bacterium. Your own genome contains sequences derived from retroviruses that infected your ancestors tens of millions of years ago. The line between self and invader in your own biology is just as blurred as it is in the coral polyp. When researchers at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies in La Jolla published the Human Genome Draft in 2003, they estimated that approximately 8% of your DNA originated from ancient viral insertions. The more they sequenced, the higher the number climbed. Estimates now suggest the figure may be closer to 17%. You are not a pure evolutionary product. You are a reef. Your cells are built on the fragments of enemies that your ancestors failed to digest. This is not an analogy. It is the literal architecture of your body. Before I show you how far this pattern extends into your future, I need you to make a decision. Subscribe to this channel, because this is the only place where the war inside your cells is told with the weight it deserves. And in the comments, tell me, what percentage of your own DNA do you suspect came from ancient enemies? The true number may be higher than you are ready for. This changes everything you see when you look at the ocean. If you have ever felt a strange recognition while watching a coral reef, a sense that its hidden frenzy mirrors something inside you, you were not projecting. You were identifying a pattern your own cells repeat every moment of every day. The chemical warfare that built the reef is the same molecular logic that powers your immune system. The border patrol in your bloodstream evolved in the Precambrian seas, and the corals perfected it long before your ancestors had bones. The fossil does not decay. It waits, and somewhere in the abyss, right now, 2 coral colonies are extruding digestive filaments into the water to dissolve each other, exactly as they have done for more than 200 million years. The war is not ancient history. It is the present tense of your own blood. And what the reef says about the future of your own genetic code, that is another depth entirely. One you are already part of.